And one topic that I heard a lot about time and time again was about the employee experience behind some of this technology. And what they meant by that was you may have a great solution for a particular problem, but if your employees don't know how to use it and they don't know how to scale it and they're not passionate about it, that technology doesn't matter.
Right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Data Cloud Now. I'm currently in Las Vegas at Money 2020, where I'm now delighted to be joined by Erin Bankaitis, Financial Services Lead at Braze. Erin, such a pleasure to sit down with you. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Erin, looking forward to diving in. The bar for customer engagement has never been higher. Consumers expect deep personalization, but they also demand privacy and control. From your vantage point, how are the most innovative brands navigating this paradox today?
So thank you for the question. It's a topic I love talking about. And, I think first and foremost, and you look over the past, let's say 15 to 20 years, the privacy and control and the compliance, like that's always been top of mind, right? And that will always remain important for financial services. But what we also find, especially nowadays, is you can never make assumptions about your customers, right? And so what might be considered an appropriate level of control and privacy for one customer may not always be the case for a different customer. And so that's where personalization really starts to come in, right? And so when I think about the most innovative brands today, especially across financial services companies, it's not sacrificing personalization for this privacy and control. And the reason that I say that is because in order to determine what that appropriate level is for a single customer, you have to know who that customer is and what they want.
Right.
And one example, I was actually on a webinar a couple of months ago, and you know how like all of us will get, or every now and then from brands, like a happy birthday message or email.
It always makes me feel good.
Yeah, it makes you feel good, right? It makes you feel good too. But there's always a percentage of customers where that doesn't make them feel good at all. In fact, it actually makes them a little bit angry. And so in order to really, when you have great systems in place to understand how customers will feel about that, you can then determine the next best appropriate action in order to actually carry out those great customer experiences. And the last thing I'll say about this particular topic is this idea of transparency. When it comes to data and personalization, the bar is very high.
Right.
This is something that we talk about a lot. But a lot of customers, they just want to know how their data is being used. And so, I work at Braze, that's kind of where Braze comes in, but it's like, if we can actually communicate to customers, hey, we're going to give you this level of personalization, should you want it, these are all like the options that you have within that. And so, it's one, not about making assumptions, and then two, being transparent with how you're using the data.
Very much on their terms.
Yeah.
Point. Great perspectives. Thank you, Erin. Now I want to dive into your mission, which is to forge a stronger bond between consumers and brands. And with the explosion of generative AI, what are the biggest opportunities and, say, potential pitfalls for C-suite leaders as they look to use this technology to create more authentic and valuable customer relationships?
Yes, exactly. And so I was chatting a little bit about this webinar I had recently.
Yeah.
This is actually another example from that. But one of the most fascinating use cases that I heard, and this is with one of our credit unions, but when you call into a call center and, maybe you're going through the call center and, you're talking to the third person, you finally got connected to the right person, and you have to repeat all the information that, you've already stated. And it could be some simple information like, what's your name, what's your date of birth, but it's also the important contextual information. And I think, one huge opportunity, especially like for banking and financial services, is getting back to the basics of where financial services used to be. And that was deeply personal, and that was truly understanding your customer. And with generative AI, you can use that type of technology to arm employees around the bank to really understand the context as to what's happening within a particular customer's life. And so imagine a world where, let's say, you're calling into your bank something deeply personal. Maybe it's I missed a credit card payment, or I just bought my first house. Having somebody on the line with you to be able to have that conversation is so incredibly powerful. And so there's a lot of opportunities to use AI to get back to the level of personalization that banks used to have. And so a lot of opportunity there. I would say with some of the pitfalls, the first one that comes to my mind is not assuming something within a demo environment can scale across the organization. And so I think, there's a big AI explosion right
Right.
now. Everybody's jumping across many different solutions, and we want to see what works, right? But another recent learning I had, I was over at a financial services conference in Australia, and Australia happens to have some of the most stringent privacy data laws anywhere in the world. And one topic that I heard a lot about time and time again was about the employee experience behind some of this technology. And what they meant by that was you may have a great solution for a particular problem, but if your employees don't know how to use it and they don't know how to scale it and they're not passionate about it, that technology doesn't
Right.
matter. So those are some of the opportunities and also pitfalls that may come down our way.
No, great insights and perspective. Thank you for that overview. And we're currently in Las Vegas at Money 2020, a place you wouldn't necessarily think to see Braze, historically a leader in customer engagement. Why is it so important for your team to show up big at Money 2020 this year? And how are Braze and Snowflake partnering to serve the financial services industry as a whole?
Yeah, so that's a great question. You're actually not the first person who's asked. So why is Braze here at Money 2020? We're not a bank, but the reason it was important for us to show up, we showed up last year. We're here again this year, and when it comes to banking right now, and it's how it's always been for financial services. It's really about building and earning trust with your customers.
Well said.
That has always been very important, and arguably right now, it's never been more important with the explosion of AI and also customers very wary about their privacy and level of control that they have with their data. And so with Braze, we're a customer engagement platform, and we also believe that communication is the number one thing that makes or breaks trust with customers. And so, we find that, with customer engagement, a lot of times, there's an assumption that, oh, this is the marketing department and, product or engineering or, folks like within the business shouldn't really worry about that. But at the end of the day, marketers are oftentimes the first ones to touch the end customer. And so it's why financial services is one of our, largest verticals. We cover all verticals, but on that note, Braze and Snowflake have been partners for, quite a long time. And, we partnered together across many different verticals. What's really special about the Braze and Snowflake relationship here is, you think about financial services institutions, especially the large and legacy ones, where you have data silos sitting all over the place. And so you think of Snowflake being able to bring those data silos together in a data warehouse, and then Braze essentially sits on the top activation layer of that, where we can actually activate those messages across any channel real time in a secure way. And so when we think about AI and Snowflake AI Data Cloud, it's really about twofold. It's more about the analysis and then also the activation. And so what's really exciting is with Braze AI operators, like we're able to take some of those insights in Snowflake data warehouse in the AI cloud, and then from there, we're able to send campaigns and find out more information in order to what we should be doing and activating on layer. And so what's really an example of that would be, hey, what has the performance looked like over the last 6 months for push notifications? And should this then determine what types of campaigns that we send? And what's so special about it is that we're able to extract that information, but again, not storing it within Braze. And so that's what's really special about our partnership, especially within financial services.
Great to hear about the power of the collective partnership. Erin, as you look out on the year ahead, what's top of mind and why?
Yeah, so what's top of mind is, I would say, focusing, right? And so you think about AI and all the different applications and the use cases and the excitement that's around it. I think where the next job is, or the biggest challenge, is choosing the right things that are going to make the biggest impact to build credibility amongst financial services. So I'm at Braze now. Prior to Braze, I was at JP Morgan, and throughout those experiences, my biggest passion has always been to adopt that latest and greatest in new technology. I'm always an advocate for banks doing better to serve their customers in a better way. But the reality is, in order to do that, you have to build credibility internally and demonstrate that it is worth maybe taking on a little bit of extra risk or spending a little bit of extra money to adopt these new technologies. And so for me, especially when, I work with banks, is what is that one use case where we can show and demonstrate real return and a real improvement in the customer experience? And I think identifying those for whatever bank it might be. And for, one bank, that use case might be different than another, right? And so it's about getting focused and really starting to execute.
And it goes back to your earlier point of very much connecting on what works best for each individual on their terms.
Yes, exactly.
Well, Erin, I really enjoyed our time together. Thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate it. And for the audience watching, I'm Ryan Green with Data Cloud Now. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll see you soon.